The massive crystal chamber of the Galaxy Council fell silent. 500 beings from across the known stars stopped their conversations. Ambassador Thexkai of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the center platform, his 4 arms spread wide. His black scales gleamed under the chamber's lights. "We claim the planet called Earth," he announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The primitive world in the outer rim. Our fleets are already moving." Whispers started among the younger council members. The Novari delegation looked confused. The crystal beings of Zenthara sparkled with interest, but the older races said nothing. They just stared at the Zephyrian ambassador. Ambassador Kethavar of the Altarian Republic stood up slowly. His blue skin had turned pale. "You cannot do this," he said. His voice was quiet but firm. Thexkai laughed. The sound was harsh and cold. "Why? Because you want that backwater world for yourself? The humans barely have space flight. They use chemical rockets like children with toys." "You do not understand," Kethavar said. He looked around the chamber at the other old races. The Vrathari delegate had closed all 6 of his eyes. The ancient Methodist ambassador was shaking her head. "What is there to understand?" Thexkai demanded. "We have conquered 47 worlds. Our fleet has never been defeated. These humans have not even left their own system. They fight with metal weapons and burn fossil fuels." The young Novari ambassador raised her hand. "If Earth is so weak, why do we have laws about contact with them? I have heard rumors about restrictions." The chamber grew even quieter. Some of the oldest beings shifted in their seats. Others looked at the floor. High Chancellor Vorthan, eldest of all council members, slowly stood. His species was so old that no one remembered their real name. They just called them the First Ones. His voice was like wind through dead leaves. "There are protocols," he said. "Ancient protocols." "What protocols?" Thexkai demanded. "Show me these laws." Vorthan touched a control on his platform. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed legal documents with red warning symbols. The text was in the old script that few could read. "Earth is under Quarantine Protocol 7, Vorthan said. "No contact, no interference, no approach within 50 light years." The young delegates leaned forward. The Novari ambassador spoke first. "Why?" "What makes these humans so dangerous? My intelligence reports say they still use nuclear weapons and fight wars among themselves." "That is exactly why," whispered the Vrathari delegate. His 6 eyes opened one by one. Thexkai slammed his fist on his platform. "Enough of these games. You are all afraid because you want Earth for yourselves. The humans are nothing. They have no energy weapons, no shields, no faster-than-light communication. They are barely out of their Stone Age." "You are making a mistake," Kethavar said. He stood up again, his hands shaking. "A terrible mistake." "The only mistake is waiting this long," Thexkai replied. "Our ships will reach Earth in 10 days. The humans will surrender or be destroyed. Then we will mine their world for resources and use their people as workers." An old being in the back of the chamber made a sound like crying. It was Ambassador Nethra of the Silurians. Her people had been space travelers for 3,000 years. "I was there," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I was there during the Terran incident." The chamber went completely silent. Even the air recycling systems seemed quieter. "What incident?" asked a young delegate. But the old beings would not explain. Vorthan touched his controls again. Red symbols appeared over the hologram. "All records of the Terran incident are classified," he announced. "Level Black classification. Only species over 1,000 years old may access them." Thexkai laughed again. "You think I am afraid of your stories? Your legends? The Zephyrian Empire fears nothing in this galaxy." "Then you are fools," said Ambassador Nethra. Tears ran down her ancient face. We tried to warn the Korthax slavers 300 years ago. They did not listen either. What happened to the Korthax? Asked the Novari ambassador. Silence. Where are the Korthax now? She asked again. Gone, said Vorthon. Their empire, their worlds, their people, all gone. Thexkai's scales rippled with anger. You think these primitive humans destroyed an entire empire? Impossible. The humans do not even have proper spaceships. Believe what you want, Kethvar said. He sat down heavily. We have tried to warn you. Your warnings mean nothing, Thexkai said. In 10 days, Earth will belong to the Zephyrian Empire. We will show you how real warriors fight. He turned and walked out of the chamber. The massive doors closed behind him with a sound like thunder. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then quiet conversations started among the younger races. They asked questions, but the older beings would not answer. High Chancellor Vorthon activated the emergency communication system. His message went to every major world in the galaxy. Attention all council species, he announced. Emergency evacuation protocols are now active. All civilian ships should leave the sectors near Earth. Military fleets should prepare for possible refugee assistance. The young delegates looked confused. Refugees from where? Asked the Novari ambassador. From everywhere within 100 light years of Earth, Vorthon said. But why? The old being started leaving the chamber. As Ambassador Nethra walked past the younger delegates, one of them grabbed her arm. Please, the young being said, tell us what happened. What is the Terran incident? Nethra stopped. She looked at the young face full of curiosity and fear. One human ship, she whispered. One damaged human ship with 37 crew members. They fought off a Korthax raider fleet of 200 vessels. When we arrived to investigate, we found the human ship floating in space. Damaged beyond repair, but still functioning. How is that possible? The humans had turned their ship into a weapon. They used everything they could find, metal pipes, chemical explosives, even their own bodies as projectiles. They never stopped fighting, never surrendered. Even when their ship was breaking apart, they kept attacking. The young delegate's eyes grew wide. But that was just one ship, Nethra continued. One ship far from their home. Now the Zephyrians are attacking their home world, their families, their children. She pulled free and walked toward the exit. May whatever gods exist have mercy on the Zephyrians, she said, because the humans will not. The chamber emptied quickly after that. Emergency lights began flashing as the evacuation protocols activated across the galaxy. Admiral Vex Thul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Shadow Strike. Through the massive viewing window, he could see the yellow star that the humans called Sul. Around him, 400 Zephyrian warships moved in perfect formation. It was the largest fleet the Empire had ever assembled. Report, he commanded. Captain Zethra checked her instruments. We are at the edge of the human system, sir. Sensors show 9 planets. The 3rd planet is their home world. Any defenses? Vex Thul asked. None that we can detect, sir. No orbital stations, no defense platforms, no military ships in space. Vex Thul's 4 arms crossed over his chest. Scan the planet itself. Scanning now, sir. Zethra's claws clicked on her control panel. The planet shows signs of primitive technology, radio signals, basic energy generation, some artificial satellites, but they appear to be for communication only. How many humans? Approximately 8 billion, sir, spread across 7 large land masses. Vex Thul laughed. 8 billion primitives with no space defenses. This will be the easiest conquest in Imperial history. His communication officer looked up. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human world. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was speaking in broken galactic common. The translator struggled to make sense of the primitive language. Unknown ships, This is Earth Defense Command. We request peaceful contact. Please respond with your intentions. Vexthul's scales rippled with amusement. Earth Defense Command? They call their pathetic radio operators a defense command? The bridge crew laughed. These humans were even weaker than they had expected. Open a channel, Vexthul ordered. This is Admiral Vexthul of the Zephyrian Empire. We claim this system and all its worlds. You will surrender immediately. There was a long pause. Then the human voice came back, speaking slowly. We need time to discuss this with our leaders. You have 1 hour, Vexthul said. After that, we will begin destroying your cities. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the bombardment cannons. Target their largest population centers. Meanwhile, in the Galaxy Council chambers, emergency meetings were happening around the clock. The great crystal screens showed the Zephyrian fleet positions. Every council member watched with growing fear. They have not moved from the system edge, reported the Novari observer. They seem to be waiting. Of course they are waiting, said Ambassador Nethra. Her voice was hollow. The humans asked for time. Time for what? Asked a young Centaurian delegate. To prepare, whispered Kethvar. High Chancellor Vorthan activated the emergency communication system again. All council fleets are ordered to fall back to the secondary defense line. Minimum safe distance is now 200 light-years from Earth. 200 light-years? The young delegates looked shocked. But that would take days to travel. Why so far? Vorthan did not answer. He just kept watching the screens. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Vexthul was growing impatient. How much time do these primitives need? Their technology is barely beyond metal tools. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, we have been monitoring their communications. They appear to have contacted every government on their world. All of them? How many governments can one primitive planet have? Over 200, sir. Small tribal groups mostly. But they are all saying the same thing, which is? They are asking their people to prepare for war. Vexthul laughed so hard his scales rattled. War? What can they possibly do against our fleet? Captain Zethra looked worried. Sir, should we not be concerned? Even the Council seems afraid of these humans. The Council is full of old cowards, Vexthul said. They have grown soft from too many years of peace. We will show them how real warriors handle primitives. His communication officer spoke up again. Sir, the 1 hour time limit has passed. The humans are responding. Put it through. This time the voice was different, stronger, and it spoke perfect galactic common. This is Earth. We have discussed your demands. And? Vexthul demanded. Our answer is no. Vexthul's eyes narrowed. Then your people will die. If you want our world, the human voice said calmly, come and take it. The transmission cut off. For a moment the bridge was silent. Then Vexthul roared with anger. Prepare the demonstration strike, he ordered. Target that uninhabited island in their western ocean. We will show them what happens to those who defy the Empire. Target locked, sir. Fire. 3 heavy plasma bolts shot from the shadow strike toward Earth. They lit up the darkness of space as they traveled toward the small blue planet. On the Council observation screens, beings from across the galaxy watched in horror. It has begun, whispered Ambassador Nethra. The plasma bolts reached Earth's atmosphere and streaked toward their target. But just before impact, something unexpected happened. The island lit up with defensive fire. Beams of energy shot up from the surface. Not the primitive lasers they had expected, but advanced particle weapons, the kind that were restricted by Galaxy Council treaties. 2 of the plasma bolts were destroyed in mid-air. The third hit the island, but instead of causing devastation, it struck some kind of energy shield. Impossible, Vexthul breathed. Sir, his weapons officer reported, The island was not uninhabited. It appears to be some kind of military installation. But our sensors showed nothing. They must have been using stealth technology, sir. Vexthul stared at the tactical display. The island was now fully visible on sensors. It was covered in weapon platforms and shield generators, technology that these primitive humans should not have possessed. "How many more installations like this exist?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. If they can hide one, they can hide others." Before Vexthul could respond, his communication officer shouted an alarm. "Sir, multiple contacts appearing throughout the system." "Explain." "Ships, sir. Human ships. Hundreds of them. They are just appearing." On the tactical display, red dots began flashing into existence. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. They appeared around asteroids, behind moons, even in the empty space where sensors had shown nothing before. "Stealth fields," Zethra whispered. "They have been here all along." Vexthul watched as the human ships moved into attack formation. They were not the primitive chemical rockets his intelligence had reported. These were real warships with advanced engines and weapon systems. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His intelligence officer was frantically checking her data. "Sir, all our information about human technology appears to have been wrong." "Wrong how?" "They do not just have space flight, sir. They have had it for decades. These ships, some of them look older than our own designs." Admiral Vexthul stared at the tactical display. What should have been an easy conquest was becoming something else entirely. "Sir," his communication officer said quietly, "we are receiving another transmission from the humans." "Put it through." The voice was the same calm tone as before. "Admiral Vexthul, you attacked our world. You threatened our people. You have made your choice." "What do you want?" Vexthul asked. "Surrender now, or face the consequences." Vexthul's anger returned. "We outnumber you 4-1. "Numbers are not everything," the human replied. "Last chance, Admiral." Vexthul cut the transmission and turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, attack formation. Prepare for battle. We will show these upstart primitives the power of the Zephyrian Empire." In the council chambers, the observers watched as both fleets began moving toward each other. "May the universe forgive us," High Chancellor Vorthan said quietly, "for what we are about to witness." The first human ship to respond was smaller than Admiral Vexthul had expected. It moved differently, too, not in the straight lines that military ships usually followed. It twisted and turned through space like a living thing. "Single human vessel approaching," Captain Zethra reported. "It appears to be some kind of patrol ship." "Destroy it!" Vexthul ordered. "Show them what happens to those who challenge us." 3 Zephyrian destroyers turned toward the human ship, their plasma cannons charged with deadly energy. But before they could fire, the human ship did something no one expected. It split apart. What had looked like one ship was actually 5 smaller vessels flying in tight formation. They scattered in different directions, moving faster than any ship their size should have been able to move. "Impossible," Vexthul said. "Those are fighters, not a single ship." "Sir, they are too small to have faster-than-light engines," his engineering officer reported. "How did they get here?" Before anyone could answer, the human fighters attacked. But they did not use energy weapons like civilized races. Instead, they fired physical projectiles. Metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. The slugs punched through Zephyrian shields like they were not there. One destroyer's armor cracked. Another lost its main engines. The third ship spun out of control, its bridge destroyed. "How are they penetrating our shields?" Vexthul demanded. "The projectiles are too small for our shields to detect, sir," his tactical officer explained. "Our defenses are designed to stop energy weapons and large missiles. Then adapt the shield frequency. We are trying, sir, but they keep changing their attack pattern." More human ships were approaching now. They came from all directions, not in neat battle lines like proper military formations. Some came from above the system plane, others from below. A few even came directly through the asteroid belt, using the rocks as cover. "This is chaos," Captain Zethra said. "They have no discipline, no formation." "Maybe that is the point," Vexthul muttered. His communication officer looked up. "Sir, we are receiving multiple transmissions from the human ships." "Put them through." What came through the speakers was not military communication. It was music. Loud, aggressive music with words that the translator could barely understand. Mixed with the music were voices shouting things like, "For Earth!" and "Come get some!" "Turn that noise off," Vexthul ordered. But before they could, one of the human voices came through clearly. "Hey, Admiral! You picked the wrong planet to mess with!" The transmission was followed by something that made every Zephyrian on the bridge freeze in terror. It was a sound no military manual had ever described. It was human laughter. In the Galaxy Council chambers, the emergency session was watching everything unfold through long-range sensors. "The humans are not fighting like any military force we have ever seen," the Novari observer reported. "They appear to be using individual ship tactics rather than fleet formations." "That is because they are not a military force," Ambassador Nethra said quietly. "Not in the way we understand it." "What do you mean?" "Look at their ship signatures," she said. "Those are not all military vessels. Some are cargo ships. Others are private spacecraft, even civilian vehicles." High Chancellor Vorthan leaned forward in his seat. "They armed their civilian population." "Every human who could fly a ship has joined the fight," Kethvar added. "This is not a military defense. This is an entire species defending their home." Back in the battle, Admiral Vexthul was discovering just how different human warfare could be. A group of human cargo ships had formed a line between his fleet and Earth. They were not trying to fight his warships directly. Instead, they were launching small objects into space. "What are those things?" he asked. His science officer ran a scan. "They appear to be mines, sir. But not energy mines. They are filled with metal fragments and chemical explosives. Primitive weapons." "Yes, sir, but there are thousands of them." The mines spread out in a cloud between the two fleets. Some were tiny, barely larger than a person's fist. Others were the size of shuttlecraft. All of them were invisible to Zephyrian sensors until they exploded. The first explosion caught a Zephyrian cruiser by surprise. The blast itself was small, but the metal fragments ripped through the ship's hull like a storm of bullets. Emergency lights flashed as the ship lost atmosphere. "Shields do not stop those fragments," Captain Zethra reported. "They are too small and too fast." More explosions followed. The humans had turned space itself into a weapon. Every time a Zephyrian ship moved, it risked running into another mine, but the humans were not finished. As the Zephyrian fleet slowed to avoid the mines, human fighters swooped in from all sides. They moved like nothing Vexthul had ever seen before. They did not follow predictable attack patterns. Each pilot seemed to be making up their own tactics as they went. One human fighter flew straight at a Zephyrian destroyer. Just before collision, it fired all its weapons at point-blank range, then spun away at an angle that should have killed the pilot from acceleration forces. But somehow, the human survived and kept fighting. Another fighter used its own ship as a battering ram, smashing into a Zephyrian weapons platform and destroying both vessels. The pilot ejected at the last second, and another human ship swooped in to rescue them. "They are insane," Zethra whispered. "No," Vexthul said slowly. "They are desperate, and that makes them dangerous." His tactical officer looked up from her console. "Sir, we are losing ships faster than we can count. The humans are not trying to capture or disable our vessels. They are trying to destroy everything. How many have we lost?" 47 ships, sir. And the number is rising." Vexthul stared at the battle display. Red symbols showed the locations of destroyed Zephyrian vessels. There were too many of them. "Sir," his communication officer called out. "Priority message from Earth." "Put it through." The voice was different this time. Older, more formal. "This is Earth Defense Command. Admiral Vexthul, we are prepared to offer you one opportunity to withdraw your forces." "Withdraw?" Vexthul laughed, but it sounded forced. "We still outnumber you 3-1. "Numbers mean nothing when you do not understand your enemy," the voice replied. "You have seen only a small sample of our capabilities." "What are you talking about?" "The ships you are fighting are volunteers, Admiral, civilians who chose to defend their home. Our actual military has not yet joined the battle." Vexthul felt a chill run through his scales. "Impossible." "Look at your long-range sensors, Admiral. Look toward the outer planets." Vexthul turned to his science officer. "Scan the system edge." The officer's face went pale. "Sir, there are massive energy signatures approaching from the direction of the gas giant planets." "How massive?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot get a clear reading. But they are big. Much bigger than anything we have seen so far." On the tactical display, new contacts began appearing. These were not small fighters or converted civilian ships. These were true warships, built for destruction, and there were hundreds of them. "This is impossible," Vexthul said. "Our intelligence report said the humans barely had spaceflight." The voice from Earth came through the speakers again. "Your intelligence was wrong about many things, Admiral. We have been watching the galaxy for longer than you know. We have seen what happens to worlds that catch the attention of aggressive species. So you hid. We prepared." More human ships were appearing on sensors, not just from the outer planets, but from everywhere in the system. They had been hiding behind asteroids, inside planetary rings, even on the surfaces of moons. "How long have you been planning this?" Vexthul asked. "Since the day we learned we were not alone in the universe," the voice replied. "We knew that someday someone would come to take our world. We decided to be ready." Captain Zethra looked at the tactical display with growing horror. "Sir, we are surrounded." "All ships, fall back to defensive positions," Vexthul ordered. But even as he said it, he knew it was too late. The human ships were moving to encircle the Zephyrian fleet. Not in neat formations, but like hunters surrounding prey. And at the center of it all, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, defended by its children. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vexthul wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Vexthul gave the order to attack with everything they had. 400 Zephyrian warships opened fire at once. The space around Earth lit up like a star as thousands of plasma bolts streaked toward the human fleet. But the humans did not respond the way any civilized species would. They did not form defensive lines or try to match the Zephyrian firepower. Instead, they scattered like insects, moving in random patterns that made no sense. "They have no discipline," Captain Zethra observed. "No coordination." She was wrong. The first sign that something was different came when a damaged human freighter, its engines failing and hull breached, suddenly accelerated directly toward the Zephyrian battleship Terror's Edge. "Collision warning!" the tactical officer shouted. "Destroy that ship!" Vexthul ordered. But it was too late. The freighter struck the battleship and exploded, not just with its remaining fuel, but with something much more powerful. The explosion was so bright that the bridge crew had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, the Terror's Edge was gone. A ship that could have defeated an entire fleet, destroyed by a single damaged cargo vessel. "How is that possible?" Zethra whispered. "The freighter was loaded with antimatter," the science officer reported. "Enough to destroy a small moon. They used their own ship as a bomb?" Vexthul could not believe what he was seeing. "What kind of species does that?" His answer came quickly. Another human ship, this one a passenger transport, rammed into a Zephyrian destroyer. Then another, and another. Each explosion took out ships that should have been invulnerable, but that was only the beginning. "Sir," the communication officer said, his voice shaking, "we are receiving strange transmissions from the destroyed ships." "What kind of transmissions?" "Music, sir. The humans are playing music while they die." The bridge crew listened in horror as human voices sang songs about death and glory, even as their ships were torn apart. These were not the desperate cries of a dying species. These were war songs. "They are enjoying this," Zethra said in shock. In the Galaxy Council chambers, ancient beings watched the battle unfold with growing terror. "It is happening again," Ambassador Nethra whispered. "Exactly like before." "What do you mean?" asked a young delegate. "The humans do not fight to win," Kethvar explained. "They fight to make their enemies lose. There is a difference." On the screens, they watched as human ships performed maneuvers that defied all military logic. A group of fighters flew directly into Zephyrian formation, not to attack, but to explode. Their sacrifice opened a gap for larger ships to attack from behind. "This is not warfare," High Chancellor Vorthon said. "This is something else entirely." Back in the battle, Admiral Vex Thul was learning just how right the old Chancellor was. The humans had developed weapons that the Galaxy Council had banned centuries ago for being too cruel. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the humans are using some kind of viral computer attack. It is spreading through our ship networks." "Block it." "We are trying, sir, but it adapts. Every time we stop one version, a new one appears." On the main screen, they watched as a Zephyrian cruiser suddenly turned its weapons on its own fleet. The virus had taken control of the ship's systems. "How do they have access to our computer codes?" Vex Thul demanded. "Unknown, sir. But they seem to know our systems better than we do." What they did not know was that humans had been studying Zephyrian technology for decades. Every piece of equipment the Empire had ever lost, every damaged ship they had abandoned, the humans had found and analyzed. But the worst was yet to come. "Sir," the science officer called out in panic, "we have boarding pods approaching." "Impossible. Our shields are still up." "The pods are not using energy to penetrate the shields, sir. They are using drills." On the tactical display, they could see small human craft attaching themselves to Zephyrian ships. Instead of advanced boarding technology, they were using simple mechanical drills to cut through the hulls. "Send security teams to repel boarders," Vex Thul ordered. But when the security teams reached the breach points, they found something that would give them nightmares for the rest of their lives. The humans who came through those holes were not wearing advanced armor or carrying energy weapons. They wore simple protective suits and carried weapons that looked like they belonged in a museum. Metal blades, chemical firearms, simple explosives. But they fought like demons. "Security Team 7 is not responding," the tactical officer reported. "Send backup." "Sir, Security Teams 8 through 12 are also not responding." "What is happening down there?" "The humans are not trying to capture our ships, sir. They are destroying them from the inside. They cut power lines, sabotage life support, and set off explosives in critical areas." Vex Thul watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet went dark. Not destroyed by enemy fire, but sabotaged by humans who had somehow gotten inside. "How are they even alive?" he asked. "Our atmosphere is poisonous to most species." "They brought their own air, sir, and they do not seem to care about coming back." That was the truth that the Galaxy Council had tried to hide. Humans did not think about warfare the same way other species did. For most civilized races, military action was about achieving political goals with minimal losses. For humans, war was about survival, and they would do anything to protect their home. "Sir," Captain Zethra said quietly, "we have lost over half our fleet." "Half?" Vex Thul stared at the tactical display. Red symbols marked the locations of destroyed or disabled ships. There were too many to count. "The humans are using tactics we have never encountered," she continued. "They attack from impossible angles. They sacrifice their own ships without hesitation. They fight even when they should be dead." A new alarm sounded on the bridge. "Sir, we have hull breach on deck 7, the tactical officer reported. "Impossible. There were no enemy ships near us." "The breach came from inside, sir. Someone set off an explosive in the engineering section." Vex Thul felt ice in his blood. "Boarders? On the flagship?" "Unknown, sir. All security teams have been dispatched." For the next hour, the crew of the Shadow Strike listened to sounds they had never heard before. Explosions echoed through the ship. Emergency lights flashed as systems failed one by one, and through it all, they could hear something that chilled them to their cores. Human voices singing their war songs as they fought. "How did they even get on board?" Vex Thul asked. "We think they hid in the wreckage of their own ships," Zethra replied. "When we brought the debris aboard for analysis, they were inside." "They waited in the wreckage of their own vessels?" "Some of the wreckage we collected was from ships that exploded hours ago, sir. The humans inside should have been dead. But they were not." "No, sir. They were not." The lights on the bridge flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in a red glow. "Sir," the communication officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from inside our own ship." "Put it through." A human voice came through the speakers, calm and clear. "Admiral Vex Thul, this is Sergeant Martinez, Earth Defense Corps. Your ship is now under our control." "Impossible." "Check your tactical display, Admiral." Vex Thul looked at the screen. Every critical system on his ship was showing failure warnings. Engineering, weapons, life support, navigation, all of them were offline. "Your choice now," the human continued, "is simple. Surrender your remaining ships and leave this system, or join your friends in the debris field." Through the bridge windows, Vex Thul could see what remained of his mighty fleet. Less than 50 ships out of the 400 he had brought, and they were all running. "This is not possible," he whispered. "You made the same mistake many species have made," the human voice said. "You thought technology was more important than determination. You thought superior numbers meant victory. You thought wrong." "What are you?" Vex Thul asked. "We are humans, Admiral, and this is our home. No one takes our home." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vex Thul, conqueror of 47 worlds, gave the order he never thought he would give. "All ships retreat. Full withdrawal from the system." As his battered fleet limped away from Earth, he could hear human laughter echoing through his own ship. Admiral Vex Thul sat in the ruins of his flagship's bridge. Half his crew was dead or missing. The other half was trying to repair enough systems to keep them alive during the long journey back to Zephyrian space. Through the cracked viewing window, he could see Earth growing smaller behind them. The blue planet looked peaceful now, almost innocent. It was hard to believe that such devastation had come from that quiet world. "Admiral," Captain Zethra said quietly. She was bandaged from head to foot, but alive. "The human boarders have left our ship." "Left? How?" "They just walked out, through the airlocks, into space." "That is impossible. They would die instantly." "They were wearing suits, sir. Simple pressure suits, nothing advanced. They said they had shuttles waiting to pick them up." Vex Thul shook his head. These humans defied everything he thought he knew about warfare and survival. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "we are receiving a message from the Galaxy Council." "Put it through." High Chancellor Vorthon's ancient face appeared on the damaged screen. His expression was a mixture of sadness and anger. "Admiral Vexthul," the Chancellor said, "your fleet is ordered to report immediately to Council Station Prime for emergency debriefing." "Chancellor, we were defending the Empire's interests. The humans did exactly what we expected them to do," Vorthon interrupted. "What we warned you they would do." Behind the Chancellor, Vexthul could see other council members. All of them were staring at him with expressions he had never seen before: fear, horror, and something that looked like pity. "Chancellor, I demand to know why the Council concealed the true nature of these humans." "The truth?" Vorthon's voice was heavy with age and regret. "The truth is that humanity represents everything the galaxy has tried to forget about itself." The transmission switched to a different location. Suddenly, Vexthul was looking at a massive archive chamber. Ancient holographic displays showed images and data files that were thousands of years old. "This is the Galactic Historical Archive," a new voice said. Ambassador Nethra stepped into view. "What you are about to see is the real reason for the quarantine protocol." The first image showed a star map of the galaxy from 300 years ago. Hundreds of civilizations were marked in different colors. Red markers indicated aggressive military empires. Blue showed peaceful trading nations. Green marked scientific communities. "This was our galaxy before the Terran incident," Nethra explained. "Look carefully at this region." She pointed to a section of space near Earth. It was marked with dozens of red symbols. "The Korthax Empire," she continued. "Slave traders and raiders. They controlled over 40 star systems and millions of beings. They were the most feared military force in this part of the galaxy." "What happened to them?" Vexthul asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "They made contact with Earth." The display changed to show a small human spacecraft. It was primitive by galactic standards, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. "This was the UES Endeavor," Nethra said. 37 crew members on a peaceful exploration mission. They were humanity's first contact with an alien species, the Korthax. The Korthax attacked without warning. They disabled the ship and prepared to take the crew as slaves. Standard procedure for them. The display showed the Endeavor drifting in space, its hull torn open and engines dead. "But something went wrong," Nethra continued. "The humans did not surrender. They did not beg for mercy. Instead, they fought back." New images appeared. They showed the inside of the damaged human ship. The crew had torn apart their own vessel, turning every piece of equipment into a weapon. They used their life support systems to create explosives. They turned their navigation computers into guidance systems for missiles made from metal debris. They even used their own bodies as weapons when nothing else was left. Vexthul stared at the images in growing horror. 37 beings against an entire fleet. "The Korthax had 200 ships," Nethra replied. "When we arrived to investigate the distress signals, we found all of them destroyed or disabled. The humans had somehow turned their single damaged ship into a weapon that could defeat an entire empire." "How is that possible?" "Because humans think differently than we do," said another voice. High Chancellor Vorthon appeared on the screen again. "When we are threatened, we look for ways to escape or negotiate. When humans are threatened, they look for ways to win at any cost. But surely one ship could not defeat an empire." "You are right," Vorthon said. "One ship could not." But what happened next changed everything. The display showed new star maps. This time, they tracked the spread of something across Korthax space. The surviving Korthax ships returned to their homeworlds and told their leaders about the humans, Nethra explained. They described beings who fought with primitive weapons but refused to die, who turned their own bodies into weapons, who laughed as they destroyed superior forces. "The Korthax Empire decided to eliminate the threat," Vorthon continued. "They sent their entire military to destroy Earth. And they never returned." Vexthul felt his scales grow cold. "What do you mean?" "We mean exactly what we said," Nethra replied. "The entire Korthax military, over 3,000 ships, disappeared. We found the wreckage scattered across 100 light-years of space. And at the center of it all was Earth, completely untouched. That is impossible. Impossible, but true. The humans had somehow defeated a force 10 times larger than anything they should have been able to handle." "How?" "We do not know," Vorthan admitted. "We never asked, because by then we realized what we were dealing with." The display changed again. This time it showed current images of Earth. Cities covering the continents, space elevators reaching into orbit, massive industrial complexes on the moon. "This is what the humans have built in 300 years, Nethra said. "While we thought they were primitive and weak, they were actually preparing. Preparing for what? For the day when someone else would try to take their world." Vexthul looked at the images with new understanding. "Everything they did to us, they had planned." "Not planned exactly," Vorthan corrected, "but prepared for. The humans have spent 3 centuries studying every military threat they might face. They know our ships, our weapons, our tactics. They know them better than we do." "Because they have been watching us." "Yes, and learning from us, and preparing to fight us if necessary." Captain Zethra, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke up. "Why did you not warn us of this before we attacked?" "We tried," Nethra said sadly. "But your ambassador Thexkai would not listen. He thought we were trying to keep the humans for ourselves." "So you let us attack them knowing what would happen?" "We could not stop you," Vorthan replied. "Council law prevents us from interfering with member species' military decisions." "But we prepared for the consequences." The display changed one final time. It showed current fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Every major civilization had moved their ships away from Earth. "This is the new quarantine line," Vorthan explained, 200 light-years from Earth. No ship is allowed to cross it without human permission. "And if someone does? Then the galaxy will learn what happens when humans feel truly threatened." Vexthul looked at the tactical display showing his own battered fleet. 47 ships out of 400. His great invasion force reduced to fleeing refugees. "Admiral," Nethra said gently, "you attacked their home, their families, their children, and they let most of your people live. That is mercy by human standards." "Mercy? If they had wanted to, they could have destroyed every ship in your fleet. Instead, they gave you a choice. That is more than the Korthax received." The transmission was interrupted by a new voice. It was coming from Earth. "This is Earth Defense Command," the voice said. "We are transmitting a message to the Galaxy Council." High Chancellor Vorthan appeared on screen again. "Earth, this is the Galaxy Council. We are listening." "We want to make our position clear," the voice continued. "We do not wish to threaten any peaceful species. We do not want to conquer or control other worlds. We want only to be left alone." "Your message is understood, Earth." "However," the voice continued, and there was steel in it now, "if anyone else attacks our world or threatens our people, the response will be immediate and total. This is our only warning." The transmission ended. For a long moment, the bridge of the Shadow Strike was silent. Finally, Vexthul spoke. "What happens now?" "Now," High Chancellor Vorthan replied, "the galaxy learns to live with the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness, there is a species that fights not for conquest or glory, but for survival, and that makes them the most dangerous force in the universe." The transmission ended, leaving Vexthul alone with his thoughts and his shattered fleet. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, looking peaceful and innocent. But now he knew the truth. It was not a world to be conquered. It was a world to be feared. and the galaxy would remember that lesson for a very long time.